Hello, and welcome back to the final episode of the 2020 Gentlemen's Club Fantasy Football season here at the Rival Recap Show. We talk Gentlemen's Club football all day, all the time. And guys, it's the championship. It's Ian versus Christian. We got the commish versus former champion. We had the toilet bowl this week. There was still some exciting fantasy stuff going on. I know real NFL teams are gearing up for their playoffs, but you know what? We're staying right here in the fantasy football world. And without further ado, guys, I'm just going to wrap up these final two matchups. We're going to have an exclusive interview with the commish at the end of this. He's got a little stuff, the commish, the champ, I should say, champ. He's got a little stuff he wants to present as well, some interesting things about his season. Whether or not you guys all stick around to see it out of spite, we shall see. But, guys, championship round, Ian versus Christian, 112 to 101. The projections were favoring Christian through most of the matchup, but that's what they are. They're projections. You know, you never know what's actually going to happen. His team did not perform up to what they were expected. Jeff Wilson was an absolute beast to start the week, 27 points on, I believe that was one of the Saturday games. Had to be feeling good there. But, I mean, 101 points is not going to do in the championship, guys, and it kind of boils down to some coaching decisions. Christian decides to sit his number one pick, Ezekiel Elliott, 18 points on his bench. Would have helped him a little bit. Decides to sit Ben Roethlisberger, who he's been running with the last, 5 or 6 weeks for Jalen Hurts, who had 37 last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. And I get where your head was at. I really do. Zeke's been kind of a mess the last few weeks, as you've known. You know, he's been on your team. And Big Ben was playing the Colts, who are your defense, and they were one of the best defenses in the league. So I get why you did it, but it sucks that it didn't work out. You know, you made the wrong move, and we won't see a repeat champion because of it, guys. Ian 112 isn't even that great, but you know his guys did what they needed to do. He had what less than a point he needed out of that Monday night game last night. Cole Beasley had 4.7 and Bass had 7. But you know what? That's more than enough because 112 to 101. Congratulations to Ian Jones. You know, he had that whole video. He wasn't even in his own video, but I was featured pretty heavily. Joe was featured, a little bit of Weston. But hey, that's just the way it goes, guys. You know, I make hot takes and pretty much every single one's freezing cold. But Ian, back-to-back 5 seeds have won the championship now. Interesting note, guys, going forward. Charlie was the 5 seed last year. Ian the 5 seed this year. And yeah, I mean, 3rd championship in a row for 03. So I'll take a little tiny bit of pride in that, even though I want to get on there myself. But Weston, Charlie, and Ian cleaning up for us. Ian is going to take one of the 5th out of the 6th nameplates on the front. There is one more, guys, on the front. So if you want to be a front a trophy guy, win next year. Onto the toilet bowl. And this was crazy. I was actually shocked. I kind of was dozing off, didn't really catch the end of this game, but Lynch pulls it out by 0.66. It's fucking devil, this kid. 0.66, Lynch pulls it out over John Rest. John Rest is actually just texting me right now. I love when that happens when I'm recording. He was asking me about the format of the presentation. Kid's already geared up. He's already getting ready. It's over 8 months away, but I love it. I love it. You know, he's getting while his mind is fresh on the season. You know, I'm sure he'll have a little bit some good insight for us. Oh, he's popping off with text now. I wonder if these are more questions. But 113.96 to 113.3. Ras needed, I guess, 7.66 out of the Bills D, and he got 7 flat. Hate to see it. One more sack or a fumble or interception, just something would have done it, but no. The Bills defense only comes away with 7 points. Some other things going in this matchup. I mean, rest of the running backs were all right. Like, Dalvin Cook, 16.5, not great in his standard. Allen Robinson, 20 points. But, yeah, I mean, it's not like he had much better on his bench, I guess. Logan Thomas and Ingram were pretty much the same, although there was a 0.7 difference between Logan Thomas and Evan Ingram. 0.7 would have won you the rat. Wow, that would have been crazy. He won by 0.04. But Lynch escapes, does not have to present. I don't know if Lynch was nervous or it was just probably wasn't. It was probably just Christmas, but I think Beyond the Buys is only 3 episodes every year, and we only got 2, but what are you going to do? I really liked what he did this year with the little box in the corner, showing his screen. That XL is amazing stuff. Thank you again for that, Lynch. I'm hoping I can add to that a little this offseason. There's some head-to-head data I'd like to include, so that you guys don't have to ask me for it, and I feel like it would be a cool thing to look at, like, oh, I'm historically 3-2 against Charlie, and, he averages more points a game than me or something, and I haven't beat him in 3 years or whatever, I don't know. Maybe some off-season work, something maybe I'll just chip away at because it's definitely probably a lot of work, but I think it's worth it, and I think it's fun, anything for Gentlemen's Club football, guys, all day, all the time, guys. And that's really all I have to say about the matchups. I want to pass my congratulations on again to champion Commissioner Ian Jones. No trust. He ended as no trust. I thought it was going to be big trust, so I guess no trust is going on the trophy. And I'm going to send it over to our amazing interview guy, Brian. And we got an exclusive with the commish, and we got some more from the commish at the end. Maybe I'll hop back on. We'll see how it goes, guys. Hope everyone has a happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating out there. And thank you, guys. Send it over to Brian. Thank you, Brian. First off, I'd just like to start off with congratulations from myself, owner of the Super Koopas. Congratulations to Ian. Ian, do you have any words for your opponent, Christian? I'm hearing rumors that he's ignoring all of your texts.
How's it going, Marsh? Ian Jones reporting live from Big Trust headquarters. First and foremost, Daddy prevented. Thank goodness Borelli did not win this year and be the first person to show up on the trophy twice. That would have been a disaster. Draft day would have been a disaster. Borelli's got enough that he likes to shit talk about. We don't need him showing up on the front of the trophy twice. We now have 5 winners on the front, which means there's 1 spot left on prime real estate of the trophy. I am honored to be on the front, and I hope that the next winner is not a repeat, unless, of course, it's myself. I would love to take up that entire bottom slot. In terms of what I would want to say to Borelli, I think, he underestimated my team. I would have beat him every single week in the playoffs. You look, if he would have picked me from the start, I would have beaten him. I would have beaten him that second week, and I would have beaten him the final week. So I think he underestimated my team, and I think that his starting lineup showed that. I think he took a little bit of the Sedano shit talk to heart and ended up mind fucking himself. So Borelli, I was there last year. I felt like I had the better team. The record showed that I had the better team. I had a perfect horse score until I played Charlie and blew it in the end. Darius Slayton got 0 points. Looking back at that game, looks like Lynch has him on his team this year. Darius Slayton might be the black sheep of the league. Maybe try not to draft him. But I have no doubt that Borelli will be back in this. He is definitely one of the top tier members of the league, especially when you look at his horse score.
All right, moving on. So, Ian, who is your favorite player other than Lamar this year? I mean, you had some great receivers, so anyone stand out?
Outside of Lamar, who is my favorite player on my team? You know what? I think it's going to have to go to TJ Hawkinson. I picked him really late, didn't know what to expect, and outside of the final 2 weeks when it, I guess, mattered the most for me, he got more than 10 points. So I never once really thought about the tight end position. I never really had to worry about the tight end position. Hawkinson was pretty much a 10-point lock every week, and when you can ride like that with a guy, you're going to be happy. I think honorable mention is Deontay Johnson. Towards the beginning of the season, I tried to pawn him off. He pretty much started every game, would be targeted 5 times and get a concussion. And that was pretty much it for maybe 3 weeks there. And then from that point on, he was essentially a wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 every week. So those 2 would be the guys outside of Lamar that I absolutely loved on my team.
I think this is the question on a few of our minds now. Is Ian, are you going to draft Lamar every year forever? I mean, it's your guy.
Will I draft Lamar Jackson every year forever? Quick answer would be probably. But the more I think about it and I look back at the draft, taking him second overall probably wasn't the best for my team. He really turned it on in the postseason. I thought that, he could end up again being the number one fantasy point scorer in the league. But, everyone talks about it all the time. Taking a quarterback early might not be the best move. So I'm certainly going to consider it. And I have enough Lamar apparel to warrant choosing him every year. But it's really going to depend on, a couple of these other clowns that have to pick around me. Next year Rask could pick him first overall. No one really knows. So we'll see.
Will we see a return of the Truss brand this next season, Ian, or will it be retired with this championship team?
Will Team No Trust be retired? Yes, I believe that it will be retired. I would like Team No Trust to go out on top. That was, truly a representation of my season this year. And I think the narrative will be different next year. I also, want the name to be retired with the legacy of winning the COVID-19 season, the 2020 season, and I would not want to tarnish that by, not making this playoffs next season or ending up in the toilet bowl. So I believe that the Trust brand will be retired and I will come up with a new one next season.
And lastly, you got a lot of heat at the draft, a lot from me. Up and down season. How much sweeter does that all make this victory? And especially now you get to buy your own plaque, so that's pretty cool too, adding your own name onto that trophy. So how does it all feel?
Marsh, thanks for this final question. I actually believe that the commissioner will be having a segment following my interview that dives a little bit deeper into the draft, but it's amazing. I love being able to prove everyone wrong in the league. They doubted my team on draft day. They doubted it throughout the season. I know I had that 64-point week where everyone was really doubting my team. Followed that up with a 189 performance, and then ultimately put up just enough to beat Christian in the championship. But it feels amazing to be sitting here as a champion, being able to put my team's name on the front of the trophy. One spot on the front left, guys. That is prime real estate. The next winner after next season will be starting off on the side of the trophy. So listen, I'm happy that I'm on the front. I know Johnny said it was all about the money, but listen, claiming stake on the front of the trophy, it was bittersweet for me. What's going on, guys? Taking a play out of Lynch's Beyond the Bias playbook here, and just wanted to provide a little bit of value as we head into the postseason of fantasy football. I know the past couple of weeks have been pretty irrelevant for teams that did not make the playoffs. So I thought it would help or I thought it would be interesting if I took a look back at the draft and kind of settled the score once and for all, who actually had the best draft now that the season is over. So what I did was I went back to the draft board behind me and I created your starting lineup with the best players that you ended up drafting to see how many points you would have gotten total if you essentially were not allowed to waiver. This is barring injuries. This is with the guys that you drafted. What type of team, what type of points were you able to produce? It isn't optimized per week. It's literally looking, and if you have, Mike Evans and Hunter Renfrow and Curtis Samuel, if Curtis Samuel and Mike Evans have more points than Hunter Renfrow, then he is not factored into this. The flex position, I also looked. So if you drafted a ton of running backs and not as many receivers, whoever had the most points fit into that flex. And I was really able to kind of get an overarching look at who ultimately had the best draft and who had the worst draft. But I would start off with something completely irrelevant to most of you, which is my season points. As the victor, here's the champion. I know there was a lot of controversy about how shitty my team was. I did have a 64-point week, and I thought it would just be cool to map it all out since my team had so many ups and downs. It seemed like a boom buster team there for a while, but average was 116 points. As you can see, I had that dip there where then I skyrocketed, then I dipped back down, and I just slowly rose until the championship. So altogether, put together a decent season. Probably not as great as my last year's season, but I'm not going to go back and look at that. So moving forward to what you guys will all care about. If I can, there we go. Okay, let me move myself over here. All right, so this was looking back at the draft. I've included also what I'm referring to as a late round MVP, or just um, maybe an outlier in your draft, a positive outlier in your draft. So Ortiz overall had the best draft. Congratulations. And this isn't even factoring in James Robinson, who we picked up on waivers, but it looks like Ortiz, Sedano, and Borelli were the top three. All of them were in the championship or in the playoffs. I had to beat two of them to win. So, it's interesting to see. And again, Rogers, Ortiz picked him pretty late, and I thought that was definitely an MVP caliber player on his team. I included Deontay Johnson because I had picked him so late in the draft from where the value that he actually sits. A couple call outs here. I think Nardoli probably had overall the best value pick, which was Claypool. He picked him in literally the last round, and he ended up, being a top tier receiver week to week. I think Charlie had a great one with Robbie Anderson. Lynch also had a little late round sneak in there with Curtis Samuel, although I do not believe he ended up retaining him. But these are just, interesting to look at. And as you can see, Eric overall had the worst draft. It was really hard to even look at his team and piece it all together. But when it comes to the data that's behind this all, if I can find it. Oh, here we go. It is kind of right in this sheet. I just basically went and looked. Like Will Fuller was in Ortiz's flex throughout the whole season, quote unquote, just to get an idea of what this was like. And obviously kickers and defenses fluctuated a lot, but this was solely focused on your draft at the time, who had the best draft. And so, we were able to get this. So I thought that was interesting. And then the cutoff being between Lamb and Nardoli from like a split between the league. But I would say the real cutoff happens between Marsh and Lamb, where the points really start to fluctuate. And then you have just that lower tier draft from Scalar to Eric. But I don't know, thought this was interesting. Thought it might be cool to include, given that we've just been talking about my team and the playoff teams. But on a final note about my team, my absolute AIDS cloud, Kenyon Drake, my first pick. What a regrettable pick. Everyone shit on it, and I 100% agree. It was, not a great first round pick, but he did tweet before the season started that this apparently would be the face that you'd make when he leads you to a championship season. He might have been onto something, as shocking as that sounds. He brought it home for team No Trust. So, you be the judge of what that means for next season and where Kenyon Drake ends up falling.
And that is a wrap. You won't have to see me talking with my hands, saying guys, 50,000 times throughout the videos, all throughout the year. I'll miss you. I'll see you all in August. Hopefully most of you sooner. And thank you.